One of the OGs of FaZe Clan, FaZe Temperrr, who was at one time actually the CEO of the FaZe Clan, has recently had an allegation levied at him, which he himself confirmed. Now, there have been so many clips that have been coming out of this situation, mainly because one of the other original members, FaZe Rain, ended up coming out with this information.
Dude looks me in my eyes and says, bro, I'm not gonna lie, I had a threesome with two 16-year-olds. I'm like, bro, what?
And so to piece it all together for you guys, I went ahead and live streamed yesterday and essentially chronicled all of these clips together to give you guys a timeline, as it's kind of important to understanding what is going on. And so that's what this video is going to be. But with that being out of the way, if you find this video useful, want to get it out to more people, make sure to give this video a like, helps boost it in the algorithm. And if you're new here or just want to help the channel out, consider subscribing. It's just a button press. Regardless of if you do either of those things, thanks for watching. For those who don't know, this all kind of starts with a guy by the name of FaZe Rain. Now, FaZe Rain is this guy. He's a part of FaZe. He's like one of the OGs. I watched him growing up. And he started this. There was a tweet from Fearbuck here saying, FaZe Rain reveals that he left FaZe over an alleged ped, saying it's someone he knew for a long time and it has messed him up for the past 2 years. He plans to reveal it all on stream today.
I think I'm gonna collect my thoughts tomorrow and I'm gonna say everything, bro. Every single thing that I know, everything. And I'm gonna collect my thoughts because I have an eidetic memory, so I remember everything and anything. You know what I'm saying? And there's bad shit. I'm just gonna do it on stream. I don't give a fuck. It's gonna come straight from the heart. So if people have other questions, I'm gonna answer it too. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of people don't even know why I left FaZe.
And so he really goes on. He's like, I did all this for them. I did, like, you know, this, and this. And you know what? Like, I've been defending this guy, or like not saying anything for the sake of, like, because he thought he was my boy, things like that. And he's like, well, this guy wouldn't care if my mom died, like stuff like that. He's like, it doesn't matter. I should be saying any of this stuff. It's been weighing on my mind. It's been messing me up for years. When he talked about this, everyone started like, whoa, who is it? Who is it? And so immediately, a lot of people were assuming that it was FaZe Banks. Because like everybody knows who FaZe Banks is. That's the first person that comes to mind. He said that this happened, you know, over the last couple of years. So it wasn't any of the new people like Lacey, Ronaldo. And so a lot of people were making assumptions that this was about FaZe Banks. Well, FaZe Banks ends up making a response to it. This was his immediate thing. Now we're going to jump to different parts of it because he does a 9-minute like thing and it's like uncut. It was his first take of it, blah, blah, blah. I'm just going to show you the most important parts because there are parts where he just keeps talking in circles, but it's a pretty good intro to start and set the tone. He responded because he saw everyone essentially calling him a ped.
First thing I'm going to say in this video is I'm not a pedophile. Rain is not talking about me. There, I got it out. Video over, peace out. No, this is definitely not funny. This is definitely not going to be like a super lighthearted video. And yeah, I'm sitting in a hotel room right now in New York City. I left FaZe a month ago and quit the internet a month ago, and for whatever reason, I keep getting dragged back into this shit. It's like it's my fucking destiny or where I'm supposed to be, I guess. Rain's going off about how FaZe has slighted him, and he brings up that somebody's a pedophile and nobody gives a fuck and nobody wants to talk about it. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Call him. He's like, Banks, don't fucking play dumb. We talked about this before. I'm like, Norton, pause. You're saying that FaZe Temperrr is a pedophile, which that is who he's talking about in the clip.
FaZe Temperrr, one of the OGs as well. He was the CEO of FaZe for a short time from the bit of research I did on Temperrr, but this is who he's talking about now.
And there's a story and we're gonna get into it. I'm like, whoa, that's Tommy, that's our brother. This is who we started this FaZe shit with. I'm calling him. That was the first thing I said. I'm calling him and I'm calling Apex because apparently this is something Apex is aware of as well. Norton and Tommy, or Norton and Apex are the closest on the team. So obviously if Norton's gonna talk to anybody about anything and be transparent, it's Apex. So I patched Tommy and Apex in the call immediately, and we sit on this phone call and we talk for a long time.
So keep in mind, just to like give you guys a bit of context, what he's talking about right now, that was a call that happened, I believe, a year ago.
Tommy's first initial knee-jerk reaction to all this shit was, what the fuck are you talking about? Norton, no, this is not what the conversation was like. You're misremembering, you're misinterpreting. Obviously, Rain is coming back, standing firm on the fact that, no, you did say this. I do believe that you did this, whatever. And there's a conversation that happened between Norton and FaZe Temperrr years ago. This conversation that I'm describing on the phone with Apex, Tommy, Rain, and myself, obviously. This conversation I'm describing to you guys is a phone call from a year ago, but Tommy and FaZe Rain had a conversation between themselves years ago. I might be misremembering it, but I think it was 3-4 years ago they talked about this, and that's how long these guys have been sitting on that for. So this gets brought up years later. It's obviously a very heavy accusation. The way we left that phone call off was let's get to the bottom of this. Let's handle it. I mean, Rain's talking about making videos. Rain's talking about this, and nobody's telling him not to. I mean, obviously, Tommy's like, bro, this isn't true. You're going to fucking ruin my life. Tommy, for the record, is married, lives in the Midwest, has a kid, and is pretty much more or less off this internet shit. So, you know, the implications, the ramifications rather, this has on his life, it's life-shattering. You know what I'm saying? It's fucked.
So yeah, he's like, well, yeah, these allegations, pretty bad, pretty serious. And so he's kind of laying out, okay, we had these conversations. He's essentially doing a ton of damage control for himself and just trying to, I don't know, get ahead of the story and whatnot. He said that he had reached out to Rain multiple times leading into this, and it seemed like he was like ducking him. So that's why he ended up posting this long ass video. Now, this essentially is culminating in him saying this also, and this really pissed off Rain. But he says the FaZe member Rain is referring to in that clip is Tommy. I know this because of a phone call we had between myself, Tommy, Apex, and Rain. To be clear, Tommy denied any wrongdoing and no conclusion was came to on that call. This all stems from a conversation that Nord and Tommy had between themselves one-on-one years prior. So this middle part here, where he's saying, to be clear, Tommy denied any wrongdoing and no conclusion was come to on that call. That's the part that pisses Rain off. But so he does this. He has a few other moments that are just a bit weird. FaZe Rain feels really weird about it because now he starts talking about kind of like their interpersonal and that, you know, he's been there for Rain and it comes off a bit funky. He just starts bringing up like all the things that he's done for Rain with the company.
Shit getting paid for, X, Y, and Z. I was always an advocate for him. For the record, he has had, like FaZe has helped him get visas, has paid for legal shit. I made sure that he was sent money when he was in trouble financially and had to get some shit paid for. I called, I can't say who I called, but I called and fucking barked the fuck up and made sure that shit was handled and advocated for Rain and always advocated for the boys. And I've offered personally, out of my own personal money, to help Rain because I'm not just saying it, that kid is my fucking brother, and there's no world where somebody I call my brother is gonna fucking ever worry about where their mom's sleeping.
This just has nothing to do with any of the allegations. Like, all he had to really say, and you're gonna hear this from Rain as well, but like, hey, I'm not the person he's talking about. But so he goes in, he outlines this, and then that further up, he's like, well, he denies any of that wrongdoing, anything like that. But it's just like, he definitely seems panicked. And he's rubbing his arms the entire time. Like he's doing this like self-soothing stuff, and he's like, you know, hugging himself. Not to be an armchair psychologist, but he's just like clearly uncomfortable by it. And he's just kind of going off the rip, just woke up. And he's just like kind of going over everything. FaZe Rain, I believe he's talking about, this is FaZe Rain talking specifically about that conversation that FaZe Banks is referencing. This is them in that car years prior. And this is him saying that. He talks about multiple times, FaZe Rain will, that he has this ID, something like a certain type of memory. Eidetic. Yes, eidetic memory. Thank you, Liz. And he's like, I remember things like very, very vividly. Like I remember things very specifically. I'm just saying that now because he's going to have a conversation with FaZe Banks. He has talked to a lot of people and no one pushes back on this. Again, take this for, this is a lot of he said, she said. This is a lot of back and forth. But nobody pushes back when FaZe Rain is saying that he knows for a fact verbatim things being said or his memory about things transpiring. Never backs down from that, and I haven't seen anyone push back on that. Take that for what it is. Just from my observation, the fact that nobody pushes back on it, specifically Banks, especially when some of the conversations that they're about to have do not necessarily look very good for him, he doesn't push back on like FaZe Rain's timeline of events.
Dude looks me in my eyes and says, bro, I'm not gonna lie, I had a threesome with two 16-year-olds. I'm like, bro, what? Like, how could you tell me that after I'm telling you the 3 rules I have to why I'll never have your back as a friend? On my mother's heartbeat, that's what he said. He looked me in the eyes and he said that. I told Banks and I told Apex immediately. I even told Lee Trink. I have texts with fucking Lee Trink from then. It was right before everything fucking blew up with the SPAC and FaZe went public and whatnot. He dropped me off home and we haven't talked since. That's why you guys are always like, bro, why don't you play CS with him? Why don't you play this with him? I don't want to say it, bro. I feel fucking bad. I feel bad. I know it's wrong. I know what he did is wrong, but I just hope people can understand like what it's like to have somebody you've known for half your life that you love, that you hope that your kids would have been friends and shit like that. Like, I don't know. It made me sad, bro. It broke my fucking heart. I didn't even want to bring this up, Banks. I did it. I didn't even want to bring your name up in this, bro, but you made that video.
Keep in mind the way that he talks about this, that he said that in between the two of them, he was saying that he had this thing with two 16-year-olds. That is really fucking important. It's going to play into what ends up happening further down the line. And he's freaked out about this. And then this is leading into him kind of also responding because he did not like how FaZe Banks talked about this and says that this guy denied it. No conclusion was met, things like that. And now he's going to start talking about that.
You lied in that video. You're making shit up. Bro, even that tweet that you posted under, I screenshotted in case you deleted it because I just don't trust you, bro. And I don't trust what you said there. You said some bullshit at the end of that tweet. What'd you say? You said, here, I'll pull it up here. Like you said, call concluded and Tommy didn't admit to it. Yes, he did. And you called me and you said, bro, this is so fucking bad. He said he's going to kill himself if this shit ever comes out. And that's why I feel extra fucking bad, bro. You told me he would kill himself if it came out. And you guilted me into not doing it. You guilted me into not saying it because you're like, if he kills himself, that's going to be on you. And you made me feel horrible for that. So I don't know what the fuck to do, bro. And I had an epiphany yesterday. I'm like, bro, why have I been holding this information for this guy for 2 years? But I know he doesn't give a fuck about me. He doesn't give a fuck about anything that happened. It's just I felt bad. Why do I always feel so bad for people, bro? And I don't ever want to make it about myself at all because it's not. It has nothing to do with that. Bro, what are you doing dropping a 10-minute video acting like I'm talking about you? Yeah, bro, people are tweeting at you. I don't know why they're tweeting at you. And then you're sending me fucking tweets, a kick champ saying it's Banks. Like, what the fuck do I have to do with that? You could have waited.
He's really upset that FaZe Banks didn't wait and then was like saying all this stuff. On one hand, I understand that. On the other, I don't know. If you get called a ped and like everyone is rushing onto every social media platform that you are on and is saying that, I understand like responding really quick to that, especially when, as they were saying, they were messaging Rain. Rain was sleeping at the time, so he didn't like respond. So he just felt the need to respond. He's alluding to this idea that in that conversation that they're talking about and that Banks references in that video, he didn't deny it. Matter of fact, he did admit to what happened. And so that kind of leads into this follow-up here. This is him talking about what was said during that phone call, what Temperrr said when they all grouped up into that 4-person call.
I brought it up to him, bro. I did. And when we got in the call, Tommy said this verbatim. He said it wasn't a threesome with two 16-year-olds. Actually, it was a 17-year-old. So all of a sudden now it's 17. One was 17 and the other one watched. That's what he said. And then he started bringing up all these random laws. I don't even know these weird consent laws, like Romeo and Juliet, this, yada. I don't fucking know. I don't know what these laws are, bro. And he says some shit like that. And even Banks calls me after and he's like, bro, what the fuck is like up with that law shit that he brought up? So he knows he did some shit that was wrong. He knows that. It's just, I don't like the denying of it. And I feel like in this video, you're trying to paint me like I'm lying and making shit up and just saying shit to say shit when you know that's not the truth, bro.
Now he's saying that in that phone call that FaZe Banks is referencing, he did admit to it, except he changed his story. He said that it was a 17-year-old and the other individual watched, which is crazy. And then he starts bringing up Romeo and Juliet laws, which is a crazy thing to bring up when you're defending yourself against pet allegations, is to go, Romeo and Juliet laws, like I'm good. Like that's not exactly what people are looking for in that situation. It just felt really weird. And so he's saying, hey, FaZe Banks, you're full of shit. All of these things are wrong and it feels really manipulative. It feels weird. And so this ends up culminating in FaZe Temperrr making a response. So he's talking about these things. FaZe Temperrr ends up responding the first time. He ends up making 2 videos. Full disclosure, kind of like the big crux of why we're talking about this and why this isn't just he said, she said. FaZe Temperrr admits to this. He admits to having this happen with a 17-year-old. And so this was his first response to everything coming out.
The fact that I'm even having to respond to this and to that my name is in the same breath as the word pedophile is so sick, twisted, and insane. This is disgusting. Anybody that knows me knows I'm not that type of person. I am the furthest thing from what you called me, and I will never be that person. It's so mind-blowing that someone that I really built a brotherhood with, someone that I really considered a brother, that I invited to my baby shower, that I always looked after and took care. And then when you were going through your darkest days, I was there for you and I was making sure that you were good. When you were in a wheelchair for 2 years and like, I was so gutted at the fact that like you couldn't walk again. And then all of a sudden you were able to walk again. And I was the happiest person in the room. There wasn't a single soul that was happier. Brother, I have known you since you were 14 years old, talking to me about when you were suicidal in these Skype chats. And I was there for you then. And I've been there for you this whole time. You talked about how I rated you the other day.
So the thing that he's talking about right now, FaZe Rain apparently was going to come out with this info like weeks ago. But this guy ended up like out of nowhere, they hadn't talked in a while, raided his stream. And so he like ended up not doing it, just said thank you because he wasn't going to do it the night that he got raided. You also notice that the first half of this like response video is not saying that it didn't happen. It's just him going on over and over about brotherhood and how they've known each other, and he couldn't believe that this person's the person to say this stuff about him.
Just for money purposes, that you wanted money out of FaZe. Like you stated that a year ago in the conversation with me, Banks and Apex. You stated if you don't get paid that, you're going to air this out. That is blackmail. This is not like, you know who I am. You know the type of person I am. I am not what you called me. I'm fucking gutted, bro, and I'm pissed that you even put my name in that light, because now all I care about is my family, bro. Like my biggest concern is my family, my wife, and my kid. Now my kid has to grow up and see this, then see that his father is in the same, that my name is in the same light as what you just called me. You don't even understand the levels of damage that you just inflicted into my life, into my family's life. And I wanted you, and even throughout all this stuff, like, in a way, I wanted you back in, even though you said this. And that just goes to show you my heart. You know, I'm disgusted by your actions, by the person you've become. You haven't always been this way. You're a really nice kid. I don't know what happened.
He didn't say anything about what was going on. He just pretty much recycled, we were bros. I don't know why you'd be saying any of this stuff, that you put my name in the same vein as a ped. Like, that's crazy. It's just like, okay, well, that's not really a response. And Rain ends up kind of crashing out over this response. And he makes, like, there's a few clips from it.
Even say, yeah, I did it. I fucked up. Zero accountability. I hate the person you've become. I'm in the best fucking shape I've ever been in my life. I'm mentally clearer than I've ever been in my life. I'm the most compassionate, most empathetic, most giving, most caring I've ever been in my fucking life. You say, I can't believe you're the person that you've become. Yeah, suck my dick. The fuck are you talking about, buddy?
This is disgusting.
This is bullshit.
Anybody that knows me knows I'm not that type of person. I am the furthest thing.
Actually, everybody that knows you knows that all you do is fuck hookers and are the horniest motherfucker of all fucking time. That's what we know. And you drink alcohol and you do all this bullshit. So of course you're gonna fucking do dumbass shit like that. Name one fucking Call of Duty event Tommy didn't show up with hookers. Please, name one. Name fucking one. You want to do this bullshit? You want to fucking lie? Okay, I'm gonna show you that, bro. I didn't want to do this at all, but now you're actually making me see red. I was sad and I was hurt for you in the beginning, and now I'm not. Because this is bullshit. This is the fakest fucking shit ever. And I get how hard it is for you when you have a fucking daughter, or you have a son and a wife, and it's hard. But this is bull.
Not super stoked. Didn't really make sense. Now, this is going on. I think the best thing to do now to, like, follow that up is to show his follow-up response. So he ends up making a second video talking about this. And this is where he just straight up admits it. And he actually, you know, addresses it.
My private life is being aired out for public entertainment, forced into an impossible situation. So now, one day my children are gonna see this video, and they're gonna know about sexual experiences and the type of person that I was before I met their mother. Let's just start at the top. So a lot of what Norton was saying of the type of person that I was is true. Not all of it. I was a reckless kid. I was very misguided. I was in and out of relationships. I didn't know any better, right? And so...
Crazy way to say, yes, I was getting hookers and stuff, but all right.
One day I go to New York, and I go to this club that's 21 plus, and I link up with a buddy there, and he invites a couple girls, and I end up going back with these girls. We're all shit-faced, and I end up going back with these girls to my hotel room. I slept with one of them, and I found out after that this girl was 17. That's the age of consent in New York, but regardless, I was sick.
He had to say it. He does the exact same thing. Age of consent is 17 in New York.
But regardless, I was sick to my stomach. It was just extremely uncomfortable knowing that and thinking about the situation.
Remember that he's saying right now, in regard to this, that it was really uncomfortable and he felt sick to his stomach. That is not lining up with what FaZe Rain's retelling of this was. He's telling him that he had a threesome with two 16-year-olds. And later on, you're going to hear that I believe in that call that happened a year ago with the four of them, he says in response to FaZe Rain pressing him and saying, hey, you told me in the car that it was two 16-year-olds and that you had a threesome. He ends up responding back with, I said that it was a threesome to make it sound cooler, which doesn't sound like something that you would say if you were sick to your stomach about this event. And that's going to make more sense later. I'm going to have that like actually play. That is what the pushback is. And so a lot of this stuff isn't going to make as much sense. Or I should say it's not going to line up as well. But so they end up hopping into a Discord call between FaZe Banks and Rain here. This is one of the moments in it that I think was pretty good to highlight. But I also additionally went through the entire VOD of them having a conversation we'll talk about, and like I'll show you a few clips from that as well. I'm going to be very clear that I've got a bit of bias, and I feel a certain type of way about how FaZe Banks is conducting himself during this. And the main reason that I ended up seeking out the entire VOD, they're not expert communicators. Like, we're not expecting them to be. They're having a conversation. It's a pretty heavy topic, but FaZe Banks, he feels like a politician at times when he's having this conversation, because he'll duck the argument that's being made, or he'll talk in circles, or he'll avoid it, or he'll try to like do this kind of thing to like make them laugh or something to like ease tension, I guess. And it feels really weird. I've felt a bit off about it. So if I'm going to have a bit of bias just because like that's like my reaction to it so far, but I'll play it a bit and I think you guys will understand upon seeing it, but maybe it is just me.
Hey, I talked to him. It's been a while since I talked to him. Me and Tommy haven't been on the best terms because of a lot of FaZe stuff and involvement and shit like that. Another huge part of the reason why I finally just like said, you know what, I'm going to go my own way. His story does not line up with what you're saying.
The only difference in this story, by the way, is what, okay, again, brother, he told me 2 16-year-olds threesome. And then on the call, he said, if I said it to sound cool. Do you remember him saying that? There's no way. There's no way. That's such a crazy thing to say.
Brain, I'm fried, brother. I honestly, like,
okay, so
it sounds like something.
It's not like
I remember. It's so dumb that it sounds like something I could hear Tommy in an unironic way, like saying. Like I don't know. I don't understand how that's cool though. Like that's the part that doesn't like. I don't know.
I don't think it's cool either, bro. And I don't fucking agree with that. But what I'm saying, that's what he said. So insinuating, if he did say I said it to sound cool, it's what he said. It's what he said. Whether he
And so the point that FaZe Rain is making here, and again, I just think that FaZe Banks is kind of like not understanding, is that by saying, well, I said that to sound cool, that is proof that he said that to Rain, that he said that he had this experience with 2 16-year-olds, which is therefore him admitting to the fact that at least number one, he said that to Rain, that he did do that. And like it seems to go over his head. And he seems to be focusing on other things, but that's the crux of what Rain is trying to get across. And then on top of that, he ends up changing the story, saying one was 17 in this phone call that they had all had together.
God knows why he lied to me and said it was a threesome with a 16-year-old when it was a single with a 17 and one was watching. God knows why he lied and said it was a threesome. God knows why. Especially when I'm telling him how fucking demonic and evil that shit is and how I'll never have your back. That's what he said. It's what he fucking said. Okay? So then he goes in the call that we had after with me, you, Apex, Tommy, and he said it was a 17-year-old. He admitted it, bro. He did. And then he said, if this shit ever comes out, bro, I have a kid now, I have a wife, I'll kill myself. And you called me after, you're like, bro, he's never talked like that. Please don't do it, bro. I don't want him to fucking kill himself.
I do remember that. But
he admits on top of that during this phone call, Temperrr says that he is literally going to off himself if any of this comes to light. And FaZe Banks is like finally admitting or like saying, yes, that is true, that he ended up having a phone call with Norden or FaZe Rain saying he's never talked like that. Please don't air this shit out. Because like they're all brothers. He doesn't want this dude to go off himself, and he genuinely believed that he meant it. Number one, that's fucked. Like if you have like some crazy shit in your closet and you think that you are any kind of person, to put the guilt of you offing yourself on them coming forward with shit that is that horrendous, that is not on the person that is going public with that. If they end up offing themselves, that has nothing to do with the people that are bringing it to light. That is such a manipulative tactic to try to push the guilt of someone literally offing themselves onto like what they all thought to be their friends, or just like literally anybody. That's just blatant manipulation to get what you want and avoid having to deal with that being brought to light. It worked because, you know, a year ago, this information didn't come out because FaZe Rain, like he felt he would be guilty of this dude taking his life when he's got a wife and child. He would be responsible for him taking his own life. That's insane. Let's go into more of this like conversation that they ended up having. So I've got the Twitch VOD. FaZe Rain is pretty much going back and forth because he's like, that was a crock of bullshit that you were spewing in your 9-minute video where you were saying all of this stuff and saying like in that follow-up tweet that he denied that any of this happened when like we just saw explicitly, or like from what Rain is talking about, that he did say that. He did admit to it in that call. And then Banks admitted to remembering that he did have that chat with him afterwards, like, please don't air this stuff out. He said he's never talked like this, which means that he did know at that point. And you're going to see Banks trying to find any way to separate himself from this situation. He is very clearly trying to distance himself over and over and over in their conversation. And that's where you're going to start to see, like, they just keep talking in circles.
I mean, bro, again, I can still give you the benefit of the doubt to be like, maybe. It's just so hard for me to believe because you did say that's just some Tommy shit. I called you, Apex, and Lee the minute he told me. As soon as he dropped me back off of my crib, I called you guys immediately.
This is what I'm saying. So me, Tommy, or me, Apex, and Lee, you called. Apex is saying the same thing. Apex
No. He knows. He knows. I talked to him today about it too. He knows I called
him. I talked to him today. He said the first time that he ever heard about that was on the call with all of us, with me, you, Tommy, and Apex.
It's not true. It's not. I told everybody the second. I understand. But also,
either way, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. What matters is I'm just trying to give you from my POV, brother. I get this call. We all get on a call. This is a conversation you guys had in 2022, and this call that we had is in 2024. It was a year ago, right?
The first time I called you about it was at moments when it happened, or right when it happened. And then when you guys didn't necessarily care, and I'm not saying it's because you didn't care that it was wrong. You just didn't know what to do. No, but listen, I'm not saying you.
FaZe Rain is not super tactful. He's not super good at getting these points across. He's talking about you guys didn't like care about it. He's referencing the fact that this information came out. They had this conversation a year ago, back in 2024, and nothing happened. FaZe Temperrr was not removed. They just did nothing and continued on. And at that point, FaZe Rain ended up leaving. He ended up leaving FaZe and all that. And he says that that was in tandem with some other stuff that was going on. But he was like, that was a big reason. You guys weren't doing anything about it. And I did not want to be on an org or be with a group of people that were just like, okay with this guy being there.
Then when we talked about the 5149 thing, I said, and I voted against it. Yes. And I said no. But even when I considered joining back, I said, I'm not going to join the same team as a pedo. And then you said, I don't know what you want me to do. And then I just left, and it's been over ever since. And I get it. You've known Tommy forever. He took you in Boston. I get it.
Rain, when I said that to you, what was your response? What would you want me to do?
I said, I don't want him on the team. I said, I don't want to be on the team with a pedophile. That's literally my words. And then we never even had that group call till I texted it again 2 years later because I was still annoyed about it. I was still so annoyed that it led to that and nothing came.
You're going to notice this a lot. Banks is like, what do you want me to do? Like, there isn't a very clear idea of what you should do to respond to that. They probably shouldn't be in the org anymore. You should probably cut them off. And for FaZe Banks to now be putting this, like, he's doing it right now in this call. He's like, and I told you then, what am I supposed to do? Like, he's putting the decision-making of that process of finding that out onto Rain. Keep in mind, at this time, FaZe Banks is the CEO of FaZe. Out of anybody to have control over making a decision like that, it's Banks. He should not be trying to push this onto Rain because Rain is the one bothered by it. And again, this kind of goes in line with him talking about, please don't air this stuff out, because he said that, you know, he's never talked this type of way. He said that he was going to off himself. It feels like in that same way, he's like pushing off responsibility for taking care of this or to make any sort of reasonable, you know, action in response to finding this out. He's just pushing that guilt onto FaZe Rain.
So I still felt some type of way for such a long time. So then I texted you again. I was like, bro, I just can't believe that shit doesn't matter to you guys. And then you said, wait, what? Tommy's a fucking pedo?
It's not that it doesn't matter.
No, but that's just how I felt. That's just how I felt, right?
I know, you're
so I said
and
that.
that's what led to the call. That's what led to the call between me, you, Apex, and
exactly.
Yes.
And then we talked
again,
about it.
So from my POV, again, this is where I'm at right now today in 2025, September 14th, waking up to all this shit. I wake up to all these mentions and I'm like, hold on. I obviously watched your clip from Fearbuck and I'm like, okay, like Rain's gonna do a stream about this. He's not speaking on this, and brother, with like, for what it's worth, and for everybody watching, I texted you how many times today? Hold on, stop it. To be fair, he came into that call and said what you were accusing him of and saying was not true, because it started out as 16-year-old girls in a threesome, two 16-year-old girls in a threesome, and then he came in and said, I met this girl at a nightclub somewhere in New York, and it turned out that after the fact that she was 17 and her friend was like there, but we didn't hook up, whatever. And he was like, you guys' stories weren't corroborated. That's true or untrue, by the way.
So we heard this from FaZe Rain, right? That Temperrr told him that it was two 16-year-olds, blah, blah, blah. But then when they got into the call, when they had that conversation, he was saying that it was this 17-year-old he met at a nightclub in New York. Okay, we have two differing stories where in one situation, yeah, just like crazy, and then the other one, they did that and a 16-year-old watched. I don't know how that turns into, which you'll see in a sec, how that turns into, well, I didn't know, you know, if it was true or not, or I didn't know like what to do because your guys' stories weren't adding up. Regardless of that, Temperrr himself is saying and admitting to something that is, I would say, not much better. Like we're not really like, oh, okay, well, you know, these are so different that it's not lining up.
But Norton,
I'm telling you exactly. Okay,
conversation.
brother, this is exactly what happened. We're in his car. I'm confiding about a friend that I suspected of doing that shit. And I told him, I will have your back as a friend no matter what in life. But if you're a pedo, you're a rapist, you hurt animals, I don't have your back. I'm exposing, I'm snitching, all the above. That's what I told him.
Agreed.
He looks me in my eyes, on my mother's fucking heartbeat, on my dog's heartbeat, on everything. He looks me in my eyes and says, I'm not going to lie, bro. I had a threesome with two 16-year-olds verbatim. And I said, please tell me you were 17 at fucking latest. He said, nah, bro, it was last year. So that would have been 2022.
FaZe Temperrr, 1993, 2022. So he's 32 years old. Okay, so just 3 years ago. Yeah, he was 29. So 29 or 28 years old.
Because you're saying I'm like twisting things, misrepresenting things. I knew about something. No, I didn't. Still, you're saying something different than he's saying. And that's
you know what
he
said, though? The nightclubs, I don't even know where you just got that from. What he said, by the way, on the call.
He said him and Bezo went out New York.
Also, okay, so it's crazy you say that. Bezo. That's so weird you fucking say. One time I saw Bezo tweet and I couldn't believe he knew. I couldn't believe it. He tweeted saying somebody at the head of FaZe is a pedophile. I saw him tweet it and I DM'd him about it, but he was too scared to tell me who it was. So the fact, and I told him, is it an owner? And he said no. So the fact that you just said Bezo is in fucking sync, because I DM'd him about that 2 years ago. So that's actually insane. He just said, I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that part of the story.
Perspective in his side, it was a different story, lacking context from what you said. The threesome part, the 16-year-old part.
No, but then he proceeded to say, if I said I had a threesome with two 16-year-olds, I said it to be cool, verbatim. It was a 17-year-old and the other one watched.
I don't know how that's
and then
cool.
he started bringing, that's what I'm fucking saying. I'm telling you that's the most cancelable, horrible thing, and I would never have your back as a friend, and you tell me that to act like it's cool?
This is obviously
I get it. It's so insane that it's laughable. I get it. I understand.
It's just this, the fact that we're here live on Twitch, FaZe Rain, FaZe Banks talking about this is fucking ridiculous.
This is the shit that irks me. It's crazy that it's us, right? FaZe Banks and FaZe Rain talking about this. Ain't this crazy, dude? Like, it's strange.
I agree.
It's all crazy.
But again, it never had to involve you any way, shape, or form.
I know as much as you knew, as much as Apex knew, as much as Tommy knew, and us four were in this call, and we didn't come to any conclusion, Rain. You guys disagreed on the details of the story, and he's saying that what you're saying isn't true. You're saying that what he's saying isn't true. How the fuck do I know? How does Apex know? We're not in the backseat of the car. It's you guys.
But he admitted it, bro. He
did. Rain, this conversation between you and Tommy happened 3 years before.
Not 3 years, 2 years before, and then the call happened a year before. And what I'm saying is he did admit it. And then he said, bro, if this shit comes out, I'm going to kill myself. That is what he said. He didn't say if this accusation, because if he didn't do it, he'd stand on that 10 toes. You could make up whatever rumor you want about me. I'm not going to kill myself over a fake rumor.
That's heavy. He did say that. So again, and me and you talked about this privately again.
You called me after, yes.
I didn't say don't do anything. I just, obviously this is fucking heavy.
You
this
said
kid
this,
literally
and I remember verbatim what you said too. You said, out of all the years I've known Tommy, he's never said anything like this. He's never said he'd kill himself.
Yes. Facts or no?
Yes, yeah, no, I agree. Exactly.
That was a very
exactly. So you told me you can't.
So you notice he keeps pushing it off, and like we saw that clip earlier that he did admit, no, I did say that to you, that you should not come forward with this stuff because he's never talked like this. The thing he's referencing right now.
And it's okay, bro.
I said verbatim,
yes,
you can't do it.
You did, but it's okay.
I don't know.
And it's fine, brother. It's fine. You care about your.
He doesn't push back on it. He's like, okay, I said that verbatim. Damn. Okay.
Again, I left FaZe a month ago. This is these new guys thing now, and it has nothing to do with me. It doesn't align with what I'm doing with my own life. I want a family of my own. I'm trying to. Me and you talk a fair amount. You know what the kind of.
This has nothing to do with what they're talking about. How does that have any bearing on anything about this conversation that they had? The fact that he was aware of it, the fact that he followed it up and said, FaZe, dude, or like Rain, don't let this like become public because the dude's gonna off himself. None of that has anything to do with this.
I've never seen him be weird. He's never had any weird pedophile tendencies.
I mean, we all know he was the horniest dude we've ever fucking met in our life. And then you pair that with alcohol, he's going to make a fucking mistake. And that's why I always said, I just think he's so retarded.
But that's not necessarily true because I've lived my life a certain way and I've never done that, would never do that. And it's like, and I especially wouldn't. I don't know. I'm not going to get into the details again. Like, there's a side that you have and there's a side that Tommy has, and it's so heavy to be in between that. Like,
There is the truth, and then there's deflection because you don't want to admit what you've done. But he did admit it. He just said she was 17. He just took a 1 year up when he told me 16. He just went 1 year up to try to soften the blow. She had to have been 16, bro. It's like, why would you tell me 16 and then say, so what? He lied about it being a threesome to sound cool, but then also made her sound younger to sound cool. But then all of a sudden, a year later, now she's 17. Brother, I repeated that story to my mother, to my stepdad, to my sister, to my best friend, to everybody that I know because I was so fucking distraught and mind blown by it. I am certain I would bet every dollar I'll ever make for the rest of my life that he said 16. I would bet everything. Again, it has nothing to do with you, by the way. I will do a lie detector test. I will do any means to prove that that is exactly what he said. But there's no way I can because we're both in a car together, right? So I would just hope that he admits that he fucked up. Hopefully, he's an absolute changed man. He's loyal to his fucking wife. He has a son, and he's going to take care of his son. Like, I would just appreciate accountability and honesty, and that's it. But we're human. We make mistakes. You know what I'm saying?
The only two people that could possibly know what you guys said in that call to each other are you and Tommy. Again,
no, but he did admit it in the call with us four. He did. He did say, yeah, she was 17. The other one was watching.
Yeah. He talked about New York, 17, law. Yes. I just remember you guys arguing back and forth, and I just remember it being fucking crazy. Like,
because that is a crazy thing to do. It's crazy. And then you even called me after you said, bro, when you bring up the laws and these random Romeo and Juliet laws, and it's just weird. And you know it's weird. Like, when you bring up these weird consent laws. Yeah,
I stand on that. I stand on it. I think that if your response and your argument is, well, technically, it's like,
yeah, exactly, exactly, and that's what we talked about after.
If you're dancing that close to the line, you probably shouldn't be fucking. By the way, we're on the same page with this and in agreement with this type of thing.
No, of course, with that we are, but I just don't like the way you went off about it, bro. I don't.
That was pretty much everything that I wanted to get out of their like live stream conversation. Again, they just kind of keep talking in circles about it. FaZe Rain ends up responding. I think this is last night. I feel horrible, man. I wish it never happened. I'm sorry I didn't speak out sooner, but I hope you can understand that it's hard. I couldn't be side by side who did something like that. I wanted to speak, but just felt so fucking bad, and eventually I just couldn't take it anymore. Love you whether you understand me or not. He feels terrible for like all of this happening. Someone that you've known for a really long time and end up having like this having to air this kind of shit. Like, I can understand still feeling terrible about it. Like, if your best friend was doing this shit, that would crush anybody. So this is Rain reacting to that apology. I honestly haven't seen this, so I want to see his reaction.
And I found out after that this girl was 17.
Then why wouldn't you tell me that, bro? You never told me you didn't know. You know, if that was the case, I would have your back to that, bro. You know that. You know that if you said like, bro, I did that, but I didn't know. They told me they were 21. They told me they were 22. I had no idea. I wouldn't look at you the same way.
Why would he not say that? Why would he not say, I didn't know? That doesn't make sense. That's where I kind of feel a bit weird about Rain's, like, quote unquote, eidetic memory. Like, if that was the situation, I struggle to believe that in that position, if that was the case, that you did not know that they were, that you wouldn't say that. Or on top of that, that he didn't make this point in his first like response. Like, Temperrr never brought this up. In my head, it's one of these two things. It's either Rain doesn't actually remember everything, or it's Temperrr is kind of just saying this after the fact, and maybe that's not necessarily the truth, that he didn't know. There have been so many opportunities like in the progression of this, including the phone call that they had a year ago where Temperrr could have said he didn't know the age, and none of this would be where it's at. So it's really weird. Honestly, talking it out and saying it out loud, it seems more like he's just kind of saying this after the fact. I don't know if Rain is just giving him like benefit of the doubt now, but it makes no sense that he'd bring it up after that.
It was just extremely uncomfortable knowing that.
But I'm saying, like, it just feels like he's actually listening to what I'm saying on stream, and he's just trying to put pieces in to like soften the blow. Again, I genuinely want to be in his corner on if he's actually innocent with it, but I just know he's not, because I know the conversation we had. I know. Like, you didn't say, I didn't know their age. You didn't say, dude, I'm fucking sick to my stomach over it, I'm fucked up over it. You said, like, not gonna lie. And then you said it like that.
That seems like if this situation happened to anybody, the first thing out your mouth following you announcing or admitting to this thing is that you didn't know. I genuinely am struggling to fathom any other scenario that would allot for you not to say that, not to bring that fact up, especially in that situation. Last thing here, he has another thing. FaZe Rain puts this out. He put it out at 3 a.m. this morning here, and this is that clip.
About the Tommy situation, because he made a video confirming it, but the details did get switched a little bit, because originally it was two 16-year-olds and it was a 17-year-old and one was watching, and now a 17-year-old and he didn't know her age. If you didn't know her age and you said that to us at least once, we wouldn't be here, bro. I would not have treated it the same way if you said you didn't know, because that changes everything. But you never said that, not once. Literally not fucking once. This is news to me that you didn't know.
I agree with Rain when we're talking about, is this guy like a straight up, is he a pedo? I think a lot of people will just call him that flat out because that is the situation that happened, like potentially two 16-year-olds. He talked about it, whatnot. I honestly can see that side based off of how they're describing it. Again, this is off of what Rain is saying, which, you know, Temperrr is denying, which is that it came off like he was fucking bragging. And then he follows it up to say, I was saying it was to, like, I had a threesome with them to make it sound cool. That doesn't sound like something you would say if you weren't into kids. On the other hand, with what Rain has said, and they've said it like time and time again, he doesn't think that he's a risk, like that he's doing it again. He's got a wife, he's got a kid. He hasn't, from his knowledge, done anything of the sort. This isn't like a repeated behavior. And usually, hallmark of like actually being a ped is that you want to do it and that you do it like you keep doing it. I see both sides of that. Either like based off of how he talked about it, even in that one single experience, seems like some ped shit, seems like that is something that a ped would say. And the fact that you never clarified and never went out of your way to say, I didn't know until, you know, shit hit the fan is really fucking peculiar. But at the same time, this is the only instance that we're aware of, that at the very least Rain is aware of and that he's, you know, aired out to the public. Logically speaking, if any of you were in that position, could you justify not telling the people around you, specifically the one person that has been vocal about it, not once, but twice, forced a call, you know, between you, him, and then Banks pulled the other two in, and not once told any of these people that you didn't know their age? I don't know a world where you wouldn't do that if that was the case.